From 1969 to 1974, The Brady Bunch was shown on television. Reruns of the show continued to air for many more years. They still play the role of the ideal family on television. After meeting and being married, Mike and Carol's sons, Greg, Peter, and Bobby, become siblings to Marcia, Jan, and Cindy, who are Carol's children. They share a home with Alice, who helps out around the house, and Tiger, the family dog. I would hate to lose track of him. Their family embodied the American ideal, but once the program finished, a lot of their deepest, darkest secrets started to leak out. If you are unaware of these Brady Bunch secrets, you should know about them. Viewers across the United States adored the Brady Bunch. The drama was so realistic since it mirrored the dynamics of a normal American family that it quickly became a household staple. The set of the family residence was a mystery to the fans, but an image from a viral blooper video revealed all. Brace yourself for the revelation. I think it would be a good idea to solve some riddles and dispel some myths about the program before we go into that. To start, Mike and Carol were already married when they fell in love, so they brought their families together. Mike had 3 sons and 3 daughters. Now that they have 8 children, the Bradys have figured out how to be a mixed family. Each episode of the show, which premiered in 1969 and ran for 5 seasons until 1974, dealt with a typical 1960s family problem. However, after 117 episodes, viewers began to notice that Mike frequently took command, making speeches about trust and honesty. Casting the kids was the first step in developing the series for creator and executive producer Sherwood Schwartz. He reasoned that it would be simpler if the children's hairstyles mirrored those of their TV parents. He set out to recruit 3 blonde girls, 3 brunette girls, 3 brunette boys, and 3 blonde boys, as he had no idea who would portray the parents just yet. The casting of the children's roles would be contingent upon the individuals selected for the parent roles. Although his blonde hair was an issue, Schwartz believed Mike Lookinland was the greatest actor, and he said that Susan Olsen won him over in their first interview. Florence Henderson was considered ideal for the part of Carol following screen testing, according to writer Sherwood Schwartz. Joyce Bulifant, who was famous for playing Murray's wife on The Mary Tyler Moore Show, was originally cast. Like Monty Margotts, Ann B. Davis was hired by Schwartz to play Alice because the director felt the part needed a lighter tone. Paramount voiced their reservations about Gene Hackman's lack of television experience and celebrity, despite Schwartz's initial conception of him as Mike Brady. Robert Reed, who had been in The Defenders before, instead tried out for a number of Paramount TV parts, the least of which was The Brady Bunch. In any case, he was put in the role of the paternal figure. Marcia, Jan, and Cindy, the blonde daughters, and Greg, Peter, and Bobby, the brunette boys, were all cast as a result of this. Sherwood Schwartz interviewed 464 of the over 1,000 children that were considered for the group. Strangest thing about the show: Carol's ex-husband. While Mike's first wife's death left him a widower, Carol's secret marriage remained hidden in a 1969 scene from The Honeymoon. Despite Sherwood Schwartz's claims, the program never brought up the fact that Carol had a divorce from her first spouse. Even in a family-friendly show, the topic of divorce was taboo back then. Making Mike a past widower and avoiding talking about Carol's divorce was their best bet, because it was more socially acceptable for parents to be widowed. Reed has been dissatisfied with his portrayal of Mike Brady in the comedy from its September 1969 debut. He had trained as a serious Shakespearean actor and felt that performing in the frequently ridiculous production was beneath him. On and off set, he was a pain for producers and directors to deal with, but the cast members got along well with him. Reed frequently found himself at odds with Schwartz over his efforts to make the sitcom more realistic. He often sent Schwartz handwritten notes critiquing the show for illogical reasoning or inappropriate combination of comedic and satirical elements. Although Schwartz sometimes had Reed direct episodes to alleviate tension, he mostly disregarded Reed's recommendations. Despite Reed's chronic disobedience in front of the kids, Schwartz just couldn't bring himself to fire him off the set. Reed said that he and Schwartz frequently disagreed in an interview from 1983, saying that they constantly fought over the scripts. Robert Reed was widely considered the best television father of all time, despite his volatile personality and obstinate actions outside of work. Many young viewers looked up to him as an example of a good father because of how he handled the Brady children on television. Many found Robert Reed to be an arduous co-worker. His training as a classically trained actor may be the reason behind this. Reed attended London's Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts for his schooling before becoming an ensemble member of the Brady Bunch. His dedication and mastery of acting skills were inculcated by his classical training. Although Reed's classical training and experience in more serious parts may have clashed with the lighthearted and occasionally campy nature of the sitcom, he brought a level of professionalism and high standards to his work on the Brady Bunch, building on his career with critically acclaimed roles like in the legal series The Defenders. There may have been friction on set as a result of this disagreement. Reed and the other cast members may have had different visions for the show's plot and characters. Reed, who had classical training as an actor, may have brought an air of seriousness and refinement to his portrayal of Mike Brady that was at odds with the show's lighter, more humorous tone. His performance and relationships with the crew and other cast members may have been shaped by his training. Since Reed was so committed to his work, he may have questioned the show's script or character development if he thought they fell short of his expectations. For a moment, let's focus on Carol. Do you have any idea what her story is? The Brady Bunch's Carol Brady, Florence Henderson, came from modest means. In her family of 10, Florence was the youngest. She came into this world on February 14, 1934, in Dale, Indiana, USA. In spite of financial difficulties, her parents, Joseph and Elizabeth, worked tirelessly to support their big family. Florence inherited the work ethic and determination of her parents from an early age. They taught her to work hard and never give up no matter how tough things became. Florence pitched in and helped out around the house and with other household chores when she was a little girl. Education was highly valued by Florence's parents, even if they were from a poor background. In their words, she should do her best in school and go for her goals. Florence had academic potential and was hell-bent on making the most of her chances. Florence had deep relationships with her neighbors and siblings as a child because of the tight-knit neighborhood in which she lived. Through it all, they were there for each other, creating memories that will last a lifetime and friendships that will last a lifetime. Florence followed her heart and continued to act as she became older. From an early age on, she yearned to pursue a career in performing, having discovered her passion for singing and acting. She worked to perfect her abilities and sought out venues to perform them, all with the encouragement of her family. Florence's strong character and dogged persistence were traits she inherited from her parents. You could lose your soul over what we're going to disclose. Florence Henderson battled depression and went through a divorce when the show was aired, among other personal issues. The public saw Florence as a doting TV mom, but behind the scenes she battled mental illness and marital strife. Florence bravely and resiliently overcame her personal struggle with depression. There were times when she felt depressed, despondent, and emotionally unstable. Debilitating symptoms of depression include changes in mood, thinking, and ability to carry out everyday tasks. Even more emotionally taxing was the fact that Florence saw the premature termination of her marriage. No matter how difficult things got, Florence always managed to come out on top. She took a fresh approach to her career as a relationship therapist by drawing on her own struggles in the relationship to guide her clients through their own trials. Florence's dedication to assisting others in their journeys to healing and happiness was evident in her shift from actress to therapist. Florence worked as a relationship therapist with a fresh viewpoint, drawing on both her professional training and her own life experiences to help her clients. Florence turned her own hardships into a powerful tool for helping others through her profession as a therapist. She had personal experience with the hurt and suffering that people endure in relationships and was committed to assisting her clients in overcoming these obstacles and finding happiness. Greg, please, he had a rough personal life. Just have a look. Barry Williams's relationship with Elizabeth Kennedy was fraught with child support disputes, despite his fame as Greg Brady on the Brady Bunch. Disputes over child support only served to aggravate an already volatile relationship between the two. Williams was approached by Elizabeth, who was seeking financial help from him in order to take care of their son, Brandon, whom Barry had a son with. Their divergent views on parenting and parental responsibility sparked the child support disputes between Elizabeth and Barry. While Barry may have thought his efforts were enough, Elizabeth thought Williams should do more to help raise their kid financially. Legal conflicts and issues about child support payments resulted from these differences of opinion. The media and the general public paid close attention to Barry's child support disputes with Elizabeth because of his famous status. When two sisters are very close in age, sibling rivalry is more likely to occur. Jan and Marcia's sibling rivalry was a major plot point in the Brady Bunch. The middle sister, Jan, frequently thought that her older sister, Marcia, took center stage. In her mind, Marcia's fame and good looks were the only reasons why she was always the center of attention. A major plot point in one episode included Jan's jealousy of Marcia's beauty. For some reason, Jan couldn't shake the feeling that Marcia was constantly looming over her. The real-life envy between Eve Plum and Maureen McCormick, who played Jan and Marcia, was a source of conflict. On screen, Jan felt about Marcia, and off-screen, Eve Plum felt the same way about Maureen McCormick. Just as Jan and Marcia's rivalry played out on screen, so did the tension between Eve Plum and Maureen McCormick off-screen. There were genuine emotions at work. It wasn't just stagecraft. Similar to how Jan felt about Marcia, Eve Plum felt like Maureen McCormick was often compared to her. The women's strained relationship on site impacted their work together and created a challenging environment for everybody. No matter how genuine or fictional, sibling rivalry is never easy. Not only was the animosity between Jan and Marcia a major plot point in the Brady Bunch, but it also affected the actors in real life. Unfortunately, things are about to become worse. Shoplifting was only one of Marcia and Susan McCormick's many problems. Their sibling rivalry with Jan was another. Their daring shoplifting adventures frequently resulted in perilous circumstances and catastrophic outcomes. One day, when they were both participating in the illicit activity, placing themselves in danger of being found, Marcia and Susan's friendship was finally tested. After giving in to temptation and taking a few things from stores, Marcia and Susan developed a habit of shoplifting. Marcia subsequently said in an interview that the thrill was the sole motivation for her actions. She was well off and could afford to buy the minor things they pilfered, but their thefts got more dangerous and troublesome as they persisted. In addition to putting themselves in danger legally, their acts harmed their connection and brought on feelings of shame and regret. It was difficult for Marcia and Susan to quit the habit of stealing, even if doing so may have serious repercussions. While stealing gave a short-lived rush, it always brought on subsequent emotions of humiliation and remorse. The effects on her relationships and reputation, as well as the moral consequences of her acts, caused Marcia much distress. When Susan was apprehended for stealing, their criminal activities came to a halt. Marcia was jolted awake by the event, which made her face the results of her choices and reevaluate her conduct. Marcia understood the gravity of their conduct and the necessity to alter their trajectory after seeing the consequences of Susan's detention. Marcia made the decision to change her life after Susan's incarceration and quit stealing. Being truthful, having integrity, and taking responsibility for one's actions are all qualities that the event instilled in her. An important turning point in Marcia's life came when she decided to stop stealing. She was then able to go forth with a fresh outlook and determination. Did you know that there was an unspoken but pervasive romantic tension among the actors? Florence Henderson, who played the show's mother figure Carol Brady, had a huge crush on Greg Brady, played by Barry Williams. during their adolescent years on the Brady Bunch. Since Barry spent so much time collaborating closely with Florence on set, these sentiments grew throughout the course of the series' production. Her professionalism, kindness, and skill earned him more and more respect. From their on-screen and off-screen encounters, it was clear that Barry had a crush on Florence. She captivated him with her beauty, poise, and charisma, and he frequently felt compelled to be in her company. Barry was utterly smitten with Florence, despite the age gap between them. While filming The Brady Bunch, Barry kept his affections for Florence a secret, although they would occasionally show through in subtle ways like compliments or long looks. Florence assured journalists that she would always consider him her son, on and off set, and that she would never accept a romantic invitation from him. Since she was already dealing with her own personal problems, she went so far as to claim that her marital status had nothing to do with her respect for their familial bond. Another thing that fans noted was that despite having many girlfriends throughout the series, Greg Brady, Barry Williams, never kissed anyone. Greg has never kissed anyone on screen, despite his many romantic relationships. Since it set Greg apart from the ordinary adolescent boys shown on TV at the time, this distinctive feature of the show became beloved by viewers. Among Greg's exes on the show were Kathy, Marcia's friend Karen, and Rachel. Perhaps the conservative tone of television at the time The Brady Bunch aired was to blame for the lack of on-screen kisses for Greg. In its depiction of adolescent interactions in particular, the program sought to convey innocent values and uphold good family traditions. Because of this, it was common for kissing and other physical expressions of affection to be left out, or suggested instead, than portrayed directly on film. But there was one outlier: Bobby Brady, the Brady boys' youngest son. In the third season episode, The Not-So-Ugly Duckling, he received a peck on the cheek. The girl he met at the party, Millicent, was the one who kissed him first. The Bradys of the Brady Bunch weren't the first fictional couple to sleep together on television, despite common assumption to the contrary. Although it was socially unacceptable to share a bed on television in those days, many people mistakenly believed they were the pioneers in this arena. Mary Kay and Johnny were the pioneering TV couples to snuggle up in bed together. Before the Bradys ever existed, they were trailblazers in breaking this taboo on television. This misunderstanding exemplifies how public opinion may occasionally trump historical evidence. Before they became famous, the Brady Bunch had a rough go of it with low ratings.